Burton, who heaves a three. That misses everything, and a 24-second shot clock violation. Minnesota, another big stop. 3:29 on the clock here in San Jose. Minnesota is within 4. They have trailed for the vast majority of this game, most of it by double figures. Letitia Heidemann weaving her way into the paint, leaves it out for Carrington, alone along the baseline for three. She's got it. Dejanay Carrington coming up extraordinarily huge for Minnesota, and she's got 11 points. 3 minutes to play. Golden State with the basketball. Minnesota within 1, looking for another stop, and it could come right here. That rebound ripped down by Napheesa Collier off the miss inside, but it is going to be a jump ball. Valkyrie Burton was able to penetrate deep inside, get right to the rim. It just caromed off. And a jump ball coming up here for the Lynx. 2:57 on the clock. Minnesota within 1, 70-69, trying to end the series tonight. It'll be Burton and Collier. 2:57 to go. It's on the Valkyrie side of the floor, and Carrington is walking off the court and meeting head athletic trainer Chuck Barta. Coming in is Courtney Williams right now. It had been key minutes for Dejanay Carrington. And she hasn't left the floor, just being worked on the bench here, so hopefully we can see her soon. Giving some attention to her lower body. Burton and Collier will jump it up. 2:57 to go. Minnesota within 1, 70-69. There has been a single lead change in this game. The Valkyries have been in command, but Minnesota can take the lead on this possession. Kayla McBride gets into the front court and lays it up and in for 2. Minnesota's first lead since it was 7-5. 2:35 to go. Driving and picked up by Letitia Heidemann, forcing the steal. She rips it away and then is fouled. Napheesa Collier and Bridget Carlton yelling in celebration of her effort. That foul's going to go on Burton as Minnesota leads 71-70. Their last lead came at the 6:38 mark of the first quarter. And now whose backs are against the wall? It's Golden State. 2:25 to go. Minnesota leading by 1. Letitia Heidemann engineering this offense right now as she picks up her dribble. Hands it off to Courtney Williams. Now 10 seconds to shoot. Williams turning the corner. Leaving it for McBride. 7 seconds to go. McBride directing traffic. Calls for a screen from Collier. 3 seconds left. She is surrounded. Gets it off in time. But it will be a 24-second shot clock violation. So Minnesota, an ill-timed turnover there. 2:06 remaining, just a 1-point game. 71-70. Veronica Burton facing stout defense from Courtney Williams as she accelerates over half court. Under 2 minutes to play. Golden State with the basketball trailing by 1. Turning the corner, getting the step is Zandalicini. Affected by Napheesa Collier, but the offensive rebound and putback is good. Golden State takes back the lead 72-71. They've led by as many as 17 points. Collier with the basketball outside the three-point line. Gets into the paint, leaves it for Letitia Heidemann, who slices her way through, kicks it out to Collier. Now 5 seconds left. Trying to drive against her defender, and Burton leaves it for Heidemann. She gets her way inside. Collier for 3. She's got it! Just as the shot clock was about to expire, Minnesota and Napheesa Collier step up big time. 1:24 to play, and the Lynx have taken back the lead again, 73-72.
The previous field goal is under review.
.124 on the clock. Looks like this last play under review to determine if it was a 2 or a 3. But Minnesota has been dominant in this fourth quarter after trailing by as many as 17 points, with the exception of one time where they made it an 8-point game in that fourth quarter. They trailed by double digits all in the third. But in this fourth, 10 of 14 shooting in this fourth quarter. They trailed by double digits to start this fourth quarter as well. As this last shot under review.
After official review, a 2-point field goal is confirmed.
All right, it's apparently a 2, not a 3. But it appears it was originally called that. So I believe the score is staying 73-72. Minnesota 8 of 28 from 3. Coming out of that review, on the floor for Minnesota is McBride, Collier, Heidemann, Carlton, and Williams. Williams bringing some pressure into the backcourt. Burton bringing the ball up the floor. Again, aggressive defense by Williams. She gets it over. 14 seconds to shoot on this possession. 1:11 on the clock. Going along the baseline is Zandalicini. She will rise up. Can't knock it down from the mid-range. Weak side rebound. Natisha Heidemann. And she's going to lose the basketball. Tracked down by Charles. It will stay Valkyrie's possession. Natisha Heidemann was yelling for a foul there, thinking that's why she let the ball go loose. Turning the corner, Burton gets to the rim. She misfires. Fighting for the rebound is Billings, but snatched up by McBride. And a reset timeout called here that will advance the basketball without huddling up here. Cheryl Reeve using that right now, moving the ball into the front court. 43 seconds left. Nafisa Collier will be taking it out on the far sideline. Collier with 24 points today on 10 of 16 shooting. Collier, ball above her head. Jess gets it in to Carlton. Back to Collier, trying to go downhill. Loses control of the basketball, spinning every way in the paint. Courtney Williams, extra pass. Bridget Carlton, the pump fake, puts it on the floor. Williams, one dribble pull-up. She's got it. Big chest bump amongst these Lynx players. A crowd silencer from Courtney Williams to make it 75-72. Their largest lead of the game since the first quarter. What a fourth this is. We are well familiar with the Minnesota Lynx and their resilience. We have seen it so many times this season. 10 times this season they have come back from being down double digits. But to do it here on the road in a raucous environment to try and close out a playoff series is absolutely phenomenal. We're going to step aside for a moment here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
At Mayo Clinic, we're detecting the undetectable. Using advanced AI technology, our experts can accurately detect signals in the human voice that are indicators of coronary artery disease. We're making more possible at Mayo Clinic because every day we're doing what's never been done. Learn more at mayoclinic.org/possible. Mayo Clinic, you know where to go.
29.5 seconds left in the Minnesota Lynx leading by 3. If they win this game here at a sold-out SAP Center in San Jose, they will move on to the semifinals of the 2025 WNBA playoffs. If they lose, if the expansion Golden State Valkyries are victorious tonight, then there will be a decisive winner-take-all Game 3 with the winner moving on to the semifinals on Friday at Target Center. Minnesota on defense, 29.5 seconds left, 5-second difference shot in game clock. Zandalcini gets free on the baseline, sideline out of bounds. That's going to make it a 1-point game. 75-74 is Minnesota's lead. 3-second difference shot in game clock as Kayla McBride walks it over half court. Taking time off the clock right now. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Goes to the right side of the floor. Courtney Williams now back to McBride. 10 seconds to shoot. 11 seconds to play. McBride calling for another screen. Goes to the right side of the floor again. She's being surrounded. Courtney Williams surrounded. And Minnesota is going to have a 24-second shot clock violation. They were not able to execute any kind of offense on that possession. There's now 4 seconds left, and Golden State can win the game. Natalie Nakase, in just her second ever playoff game, is calling a timeout. Minnesota clinging to a 1-point lead, 75-74. This is mind-boggling what has happened in this game. Minnesota trailed by as many as 17 points. They trailed by double digits almost the entirety of the third quarter. They trailed by double digits to start the fourth quarter. They started this final frame on an 11-0 burst that lifted them out of that deficit and completely changed the complexion of this game. And then it's been back and forth excitement ever since between the experienced, connected, top-seeded Minnesota Lynx versus this team of underdogs in Golden State. And that's a mantle and a demeanor that they have embraced this entire season. Even head coach Natalie Nakase feels like she's been overlooked her entire life. She was a walk-on at UCLA as someone who's generously 5'2". She became a starter for the UCLA Bruins in her hometown of Los Angeles. She has spent 13 years working her way up to being a head coach, including in the NBA, and winning 2 championships with the Las Vegas Aces. And on the precipice of trying to force a Game 3, but Minnesota knows the importance of their own experience, their own connectivity, and trying to end the series right here to not give a team that's inspired and determined and defying every odd and expectation laid out for them from even before the season started, to not give them another chance. 4 seconds left. Minnesota leads 75-74, and the Golden State Valkyries will try to win the game on this possession. On the floor for Minnesota, McBride, Collier, Williams, Smith, Carlton, all starters on the court. Ileana Rupert will take it out from the far sideline. Nafisa Collier right in her face. Rupert trying to get every possible inch she can. 4 seconds left. Ball above her head into Zandalcini, and McBride is going to immediately deliver a foul.
Fouls on number 21.
Minnesota, just their second team foul in this quarter. Minnesota leading by 1, 75-74. Rupert again will try to bring it in. They go to Zandalcini, a 90% free throw shooter. She will loft up a shot. It misses at the buzzer, and Minnesota is moving on to the semifinals. You can never count this team out.
Golden State, 74.
This was the largest comeback of the season for the Minnesota Lynx, and it comes in the playoffs. The final score, 75-74. One of the most dramatic fourth quarters you can imagine for the Minnesota Lynx, and pulling off this victory. Down by 17, down by double figures much of the third quarter, and starting in the fourth, and they put it together the way we have seen them do so many times, but maybe not quite like this. The final 75-74 here at SAP Center in San Jose, a classic. Maybe not always pretty. In fact, for sure, not always pretty. And the game that Minnesota wanted to play by any means. But what's most important is coming out on top and Minnesota securing a berth to the WNBA semifinals. All right, we're going to have our post-game show up next here on the Lynx Radio Network. When we come back, we'll break all this down, how this all transpired, the largest comeback of the season for the Minnesota Lynx as they move on to the WNBA semifinals. More to come right here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
Here at Dateline, we're used to spending months or even years pursuing a story. We've learned a lot along the way. So we thought we'd share and let you in on a few things. A friend of mine who's a homicide detective says all murders can be chalked up to either love, money, or pride. And this mystery would be no exception. Was it love?
I think we were head over heels for one another.
Money?
Over the years, he had accumulated hundreds of thousands of dollars in his account.
He didn't miss an angle, did he?
No, sir. There was a pattern.
Or pride?
It's just a man's pride being walked all over. That was his ego that she stepped all over.
This is a tale so twisted, it would take not just one murder, but two for the killer's motive to come to light. I'm Josh Mankiewicz. I've been reporting here on Dateline for more than 25 years. And this is Motive for Murder, a new podcast from Dateline.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
Possible.
Seconds left. Minnesota leads 75-74, and the Golden State Valkyries will try to win the game on this possession. Minnesota leading by 1, 75-74. Repair again will try to bring it in. They go to Sandalissini, a 90% free throw shooter. She will loft up a shot. It misses at the buzzer, and Minnesota is moving on to the semifinals. You can never count this team out.
Golden State, 74.
This was the largest comeback of the season for the Minnesota Lynx, and it comes in the playoffs. That was tonight's Mayo Clinic moment of excellence. At Mayo Clinic, we're doing what's never been done. An absolutely exhilarating victory for the Minnesota Lynx, who were on their heels this entire game. You cannot overstate how Golden State was dictating, but Minnesota with a fourth quarter comeback for the ages, especially considering the circumstances in the postseason. And they defeat the Golden State Valkyries 75-74 to move on to the WNBA semifinals. Sloan Martin along with you here as we start our post-game show here at SAP Center in San Jose. Still recovering from what kind of finish that was, with Minnesota outscoring the Valkyries in the fourth quarter 26-11. Let's break down how this happened. Minnesota mirroring exactly what we saw in game one between these two teams just a couple of days ago at Target Center, where the Golden State Valkyries, who are a feisty, determined, hard-working team who feels like they are a group of underdogs set to prove everyone wrong, and working incredibly hard for their head coach, coach of the year in Natalie Nakase. But just like game one, they came out of the gates incredibly hot. Shot 10 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 6 from three-point range. And Minnesota trailed after the first 10 minutes, 27-19. The Lynx started 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. Kayla McBride had 7 points in that first quarter. It was very balanced for Golden State with Veronica Burton with 6 points, Janelle Salon with 5 points, and Golden State was just clicking on all cylinders. They looked like the team that had the playoff experience together and the time on the court together like the Minnesota Lynx do. That is so important to their identity. The second quarter was actually even worse for the Minnesota Lynx, where they tied their season low for points in any quarter this season. They had 9 in that second frame. They also had 9 points at Washington on June 24th. And Minnesota went into the halftime locker room trailing 41-28. And Minnesota showed some flashes, some embers burning of a comeback, but really nothing was able to ignite for this Lynx team. At the halftime locker room, they were shooting just 2 of 13 from beyond the arc, 34% overall. Nafisa Collier had 10 points at the halftime break. Salon with 9. Monique Billings off the bench. She was incredibly strong today. She had 8 points as well. And Minnesota had only 28 points in the half. That nearly is a season low for points in a half. Again, at Washington, they had 27 points in that contest. In the second frame, they shot just 4 of 17. 0 for 5 from 3, had 5 turnovers. But we know Minnesota is a third quarter team. It has been that way this entire season and has also been the way things have gone in this series too, where Minnesota is outscoring the Valkyries in the third quarter by about 6 points per game on average coming into this contest. And it was very close in that third quarter. The Lynx were outscored 22-21, but much improved. And that was the problem in the first half, is that Minnesota never found its flow offensively for this top-ranked offense and best shooting team in the WNBA this season. They did not look like themselves. But in that third quarter, at least, shot 8 of 17 from the floor, held Golden State to just 37% shooting. And then the fourth quarter was when all the magic happened. The Lynx outscored the Valkyries in that final frame, 26-11 in this victory to move on to the semifinals. And in that fourth quarter, Minnesota started off with a burst, an 11-0 run to start that final frame. And they finished that fourth quarter shooting 11 for 15 from the floor, 3 of 5 from long range. And it was a multitude of different players who were stepping up for Minnesota. Kayla McBride went 3 for 3 with 6 points. Nafisa Collier, 3 of 4 shooting. She had 7 points. Dejanay Carrington had 6 points in that fourth quarter, including 2 threes. She was outstanding in that fourth quarter, and that's how Minnesota was able to mount this comeback, the largest comeback victory this season for the Minnesota Lynx. At one point down 17 in front of a sellout crowd, in front of a fan base that has been incredibly invested in this team, setting WNBA records in total attendance and average attendance per game, and showing up here in a different part of the Bay Area for the very first playoff game in Valkyries history. And that's what Minnesota was up against, but they broke free in that fourth quarter. Again, outscoring the Valkyries 26-11 in that fourth frame. Got huge buckets down the stretch. I mentioned from McBride, from Collier, and from Carrington as well, to try and carry this team across the finish line. You know, and it's something that I talked with Coach Reeve about coming into this game in our one-on-one interview for the tip-off show, about how important it is, especially against the Valkyries team that is gritty and hungry and hardworking, to end it right here, to not allow any kind of opportunity for a game 3, because then it's completely up for grabs. Yes, you're going back to Target Center, where Minnesota was 20-2 this season in the regular season and had won game 1 in a blowout, but you just never know when it is a winner-take-all game 3. So to lean on that experience, to lean on the superstars on this team to finally overcome that deficit was extraordinary to watch, and a well-earned, hard-fought victory. Maybe on paper, this is the most resilient comeback we've seen of the Minnesota Lynx, but even just the sense of it, what it meant, and the circumstances absolutely the top win this season, even though they might argue 3/4 of the game was the exact opposite of what they were trying to accomplish. What matters is the final result, and the final was Minnesota 75, Valkyries 74. Looking at some individual statistics quickly for Golden State, they had 4 in double figures, led by Monique Billings off the bench. She sometimes has Minnesota's number. She had 2 double-doubles against Minnesota last season, finished with 15 and 4 on 7 of 12 shooting. They were able to hold Veronica Burton to 13 points, but on 4 of 12 shooting and to 3 turnovers as well. And that's significant. That is 10 turnovers the last 2 games for Veronica Burton, who this season set a single-season record in WNBA history with 3 games of at least 10 assists and 0 turnovers. So she is someone who is not prone to that Minnesota was able to completely shake and take out of her game in that way. For the Minnesota Lynx, Defisa Collier ends with 24 points on 10 of 16 shooting, 7 rebounds, 4 assists for Fee, the MVP candidate. Bridget Carlton, scoreless at the half, finishes with 12 points, including 4 threes in the second half. 3 of those came in the third quarter as Minnesota was trying to do anything to tread water and keep its head above water as well, as hard as it was against this hardworking Golden State team. Kayla McBride, a flashy 18 points for her, 3 assists, 4 rebounds on 8 of 13 shooting. And off the bench, Dejanay Carrington, outstanding, 11 points for her, 4 of 9 from the floor, went 2 of 2 from 3 in the fourth quarter. And she was a huge pickup for many reasons, but especially when it comes to the playoffs. And we know how important she is when it comes to her defense, the different kind of looks Minnesota can give opponents within a playoff series. But she was bringing the offense today too, being herself, playing within Minnesota's offense, and it all worked perfectly for the Lynx. The Minnesota Lynx move on to the semifinals. The final here in San Jose, 75-74. When we come back, Alex and I will be back to wrap things up when we return on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
Hailstorm. And Lindsey Sterling. The Never Rest Duality Tour. Live at the Treasure Island Amphitheater. Friday, September 26th. With Apocalyptica. On sale now at TICasino.com. Hailstorm and Lindsey Sterling. Live.
Wolves fans, it's time to get your tickets for Timberwolves basketball. Be in the building for the next jaw-dropping Anthony Edwards moment.
Nas with it off to Ant. Drives in and hammers it through with the right hand.
Plus, can't miss rivalries, theme nights, and giveaways fans line up early for. And every game is a night to remember.
Oh, the energy in the building right now is through the roof.
Get your tickets now at Timberwolves.com/single.